I really wanted to I wanted to ask you, so oftentimes in these repatriation groups, we hear people say they want to go to Africa and live like the locals. I take issue with that statement because, for one, I don't think people really understand that there's a spectrum of what a local may live like in Ghana, for one. And two, there's also like, are you saying that you need to live like you want to live in a Zongo, or are you saying you want to live like just a middle class local?
Okay. And so the number one thing with that, let me tell you something. There's a lot of people who will tell you, like, I'm long-winded as hell. I'm long-winded because I'm super detailed. Like, you can't say to me, I'm going to Zimbabwe to live like the locals without me being like, well, what do the locals live like?
Right.
How much do they make? What kind of house do they have? How often do they this, that, and a third and whatever else? But there are a lot of people who do that. They go without knowing.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And on top of that, when you saying live like the locals, when you talk about Ghana, what kind of local are you talking about? Because I've been in some of these groups.
What kind of local?
I've been in some of these groups where they're like, oh, I'm in Ghana doing it like the locals. We went down the street to fetch water, to come back to the house to take a bath. We did this, we did. And I'm like, in who house?
In who house?
I've been Ghanaian my entire life. And even when my mom was building this house, we didn't go down the street to fetch water. That doesn't mean I haven't seen it, but that's not our normal. You understand what I'm saying? And my aunt has lived in our house since forever. She would very much be considered local. She's never lived outside. She's never traveled outside the country. And she don't go down the street to fetch nobody's water from nowhere to wash nothing.
Exactly. And that's why I'm always saying, like, okay, when you say you want to live like the locals, what locals are you talking about? Because I don't know any locals who fetch water and cook outside, and I don't know them personally.
And I think that's a and that's a part that I say Ghana is very, 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 very much a class system society. So you have people on different levels of the class system. So when you're telling me a local, you need to tell me what level of the class system you're talking about. Because like I said, my aunt would be considered a local. She doesn't fetch water from anywhere. She cooks outside because it might be hot today.
It might be hot, right?
Gas. She don't got enough gas, so she's throwing it on a coal pot. And a coal pot is the equivalent of a grill on the ground. Or she like her soup better in the pot on the coal pot.
Like that.
Yes, not because she decided she's not gonna have a stove in the house because she don't need to.
Exactly.
The other aspect of that, which is slightly insensitive and out of touch, is a lot of these people are doing this because they have to.
Because they have to.
Not because they feel like it makes them an authentic Ghanaian. It's because they want to have water in the house. They want to have a stove in the house. They want to stay in their compound and do whatever it is they need to do. They don't want to go down the street. They don't feel like it makes them any more Ghanaian than the next person. The reality is anybody who's true and honest about who they are understand that is something that is done out of necessity because they don't have. Right. And that speaks to the quality of life in the country, the disparity of quality of life, the government, and how seriously they take the most basic of amenities for the average person. So not having water in your house in America, your house would be condemned.
Right.
Your house would be condemned. Not having constant electricity, not having plumbing and sewage, you would not be allowed by the American government to live in a domicile on that level. But in Ghana, it's lawlessness. Somebody can be building a house and have the frame, no windows, no doorways, no doors, and leave it there, and somebody will squat and move in and live like that, and nobody will come and tell them you can't do that. Exactly. And so for outsiders, they will see that and think this is a standard of living, or this is how these people do things. Something that the overall society looks at and says, yes, this is like ancient African way. We're trying to keep it traditional or anything like that. No, that's simply done because they don't have anywhere else to go. And unfortunately, the housing system is like one of Ghana's biggest problems. And that stems culturally and traditionally from this mindset of your children should live with you until they get married. Mm-hmm. Right? So with that mindset, your kids are living with you, you know, Africans kind of marry a little younger, let's say 20 somethings to 30s, they're usually married. After about 35, you ain't married, they're kind of looking at you sideways.
Right.
They feel the type of way about that. So normally in America, at 18, 20, 21, you move out, you get your own place, you get a job, you can afford to live on your own. So because of that, the American society has made it so that there's housing affordable for people in those low-level jobs. People working at McDonald's can get a place to live and whatever else. In Ghana, you could not be 18, 21 and afford to live on your own with genuinely earned money. So right. If you see a guy who's 25 and he lives in airport residential, the likelihood of him being a scammer or coming from a wealthy family is 99.95%.
Right.
Because it's not conducive. So then that creates a thing where you have all of these, 28, 30-year-olds who can't live on their own. They don't live in good conditions because the whole government system is not created affordable housing. It's not created it to where they can get jobs. It's not created it to where they can do these things. And then the traditional aspect of it is not to push your kids out. But right. Then you also have a society where it can't accommodate its people in a good living standard.
Right, right. So let me ask you this. Would you say that when people, you mentioned that the cultural insensitivity of, of people saying, can you hear me?
Okay, it's unfrozen now. Go ahead.
Okay, so you mentioned the cultural insensitivity of people saying, like, I want to live like a local type of situation.
Right.
And what would you, just being a Ghanaian and kind of knowing how Ghanaians are, what would you say that Ghanaians think when we are coming and living like destitute, substandard lives?
Okay, so listen. I'm gonna give you a quick story. One year I came to Ghana for my regular summer vacations. I'm at my house with my cousins and I have on some distressed denim that has like holes in it, it's ripped up, it's frayed, it's whatever. And my cousin is like, you came from America looking like this? So that speaks to, they see that and that's exactly how they think. They like, you American and you came to live like, one, they think either you don't have good work ethic. Mm-hmm. You don't have good work ethic because if it was them and they had the opportunities that they believe America has, they would not come back to Ghana and live this way at all. This is what one thing I will say is Ghanaians who move outside and work, they don't play these games. They don't come to America, the majorities, and get a job in a fast food chain and do that for their entire lives. Right. That's not real. They will hustle. They will hustle. And if they hustle and they get to a point where they move back to Ghana, when they move back to Ghana, they moving into a 6-bedroom, 4-car garage, pool in the backyard. They making up for lost time. So when they see an American, a Black American, yellow American, green American, Chinese, whoever, come and you're going to fetch water, they're really looking at you like, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong? Yeah.
What's wrong with you? They feel like either you don't have money or you have money and you're cheap, mm-hmm. or you were in America and you didn't take your opportunity seriously, which is why most people who, are born in Ghana, when they go to the US, they're hard achieving. They want to become like doctors, lawyers, whatever, because for them, if they came from an impoverished background in Ghana, they never had the thought that they could be a doctor or lawyer in Ghana. But in America, where they have access to more resources and they feel like their hard work pays off in a way that they can either study more or whatever, or pass it on to their kids, it's more attainable for them there. And then they actually decide to show that wealth through houses and, living lavishly. It's a show of wealth based off of where they came from. You know what I mean? Even with the wealthier people, if you're wealthy and your kid goes to the UK and whatever, and they go to school, they don't expect you to come back and live like someone who's never lived outside. They expect you to live a certain kind of way. They expect you to look a certain kind of way. They expect you to make decisions and be more free than someone who's been limited by the limitations of Ghana.
Yeah. So, for more on this video, please click the link in the description below. Thank you.